This is Operation B, the podcast about living with intention, building what feels true, and dropping the things that don't. A place where purpose meets practice. I'm Jamie Thurber, your host, and together we'll explore how to live with clarity, freedom, and alignment without burning out or losing yourself, because it's time to be who you're meant to be. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Operation B. I am your host, Jamie Thurber. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time here with me. So I am going to continue on this little how to get more out of your life reflection moments. And so if you are interested in that and you didn't watch, go back and look at it. We'll link it below. But today I want to talk about unlearning the rules. I'll never forget the time I first heard Tony say to me, "Whose measuring stick are you using?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "You're talking about all these things like they're absolutes. And I'm very confused by where you're getting that data. Like, why do you think that that's the rule? Why are you looking at that as the tiers you're supposed to get to? Or like, what's the measuring stick? Whose measuring stick is that?" Because honestly, someone else's life experiences and what they've been through cannot be what you measure yours off of. Because how does that even make any sense? It doesn't. So there are rules that we follow. And you guys, if my coach is watching this, she's probably laughing out loud. Because there are parts of me that are very, 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 very committed to the rules. Which is funny because I, especially in my like teens and 20s, like early 20s, I pride myself on being a rule breaker. And I did in a lot of ways, in a very cool way. I didn't hurt anybody or anything like that. I never got arrested or any of those things, but I did really do whatever I wanted for the most part. And I just did. And so it's funny that there are so many pieces of me that are still so concerned about the rules that I have slowly chipped away at them. But I wish someone would have told me about this sooner. So there are things we don't realize are embedded in us at a very, very young age, usually. By society, by family members, by our schools, by friends, parents, by whatever. A lot of things can cause us to believe these certain rules. Like, this is where prejudices come from a lot of times in young people. This is where misunderstanding of others comes from in young people. A lot of these things are inherited and they don't even realize they're doing it. Or society tells you XYZ thing. And so it's very quiet. You're not aware that it's happening. But those expectations are adjusted to what you think is the right way to behave, or how you should handle this thing, or how someone else should handle this thing. Far too often, people don't communicate much with others who don't look like them, think like them, live like them. And we're doing ourselves as a society a major disservice by that being what we've created. There's not a lot of diversity in a lot of areas, right? And then there's a ton in other areas. And so I will never forget, I don't remember what year it was, but it was after George Floyd and Michael Brown and those things had happened. And you guys, I grew up in North County in St. Louis, where I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood, a very diverse school and high school. So like that shit was normal to me. I did grow up around different people that did not just look like me, think like me. We spent most of our time, I'd say, like as a family only with other family members who were just like us. But as far as my schooling and my playing with friends and stuff like that, everybody was very different. And I'm so grateful for that, because I'll never forget Tony and I being on a vacation with a couple that did not experience that growing up. And then the place that they live in now has very little diversity. So it was really sad for me. It wasn't sad for me. I was sad for them, honestly, and for humans all over, that they genuinely just didn't know. Now, granted, we live in a world of technology, and you you have to choose to not know, in my opinion, these days, but like what's actually happening and what's actually possible, because there's so much available at your fingertips. But I witnessed this situation where they were so sure that what they were saying was the absolute truth. And it wasn't because they were jackasses. It was genuinely because they didn't know anything else that existed differently than what they were telling me. And so when I look at that, and granted, I do take advantage of those situations when I'm placed in them, and I will step into uncomfortable conversations and offer perspective shifts for people, because I believe that that is what makes us better as a human race, is that we're able to see various perspectives and operate accordingly instead of thinking everyone looks like us, thinks like us, and wants what we want, because that's not the point. Like, if every single person in the world wanted to run their own coaching company, we'd be fucked. We'd have nobody to grow our food. We'd have nobody to deliver it to us. We'd have nobody to run the banking and the thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's a very good thing that people have diverse qualities and skill sets and traits and interests. Like, we need to remember that. That's what built us as a society that hasn't fallen, is that people have various skill sets and are willing to do different types of jobs and things like that. So while I've gone down a little bit of a tangent hole there, it all files back to these societal and familial expectations that shape our behavior, because we wind up following rules that we didn't know were rules. We didn't choose them, I should say. So this happens a lot in people regarding how their relationship is with money. Most children, as they grow up, their relationship with money mirrors their parents' relationships with money. So if their parents were super frugal, typically they are as well. If their parents, or if they're the exact opposite and they're super not frugal, I think that was the one exception there. But I feel like, so example for me, my mom and dad were never really taught how to manage their finances, so they just did their best. But it was a very, very stressful conversation in our household my entire life. And I remember being an adult and talking to my brother about it. And he had his own family at the time, and we were talking about how we had, because I took a lot of different coaching classes. I've read dozens of books about it. And so has he, to unlearn this negative money mindset, to unlearn we needed to learn how to be in a prosperity, abundance mindset instead of a lack, because everyone I knew for the most part lived in a lack. And that's part of why I will say, like, I remember my high school boyfriend that I've mentioned before, that I helped him with his business when I was, 17, 18. His family was not like that. They had a whole different experience than my family had. His grandpa had started a company and his dad had a company. And so they had a very different upbringing as far as what they had access to and the way they saw other people do life. And when I was with him, I was very welcomed into his family and extended family and whatever. So I got to witness that and see different thought processes, different perspectives, and started to recognize, not everybody wants to cry when it's time to pay their bills. Like, not everybody is looking at money as a bad thing. These guys look at money as a tool. Interesting. Now, it took me a very long time to fully embody that, but I remember recognizing it, right? So, again, these are things that we don't even realize are shaping us, but they do. And it's, again, not a negative. It's not like it's anybody's fault. And it's not none of the things I'm saying is to fault anyone. But I will say, it was a piece, it was a big piece of me being able to believe that I was able to generate income a different way than what I had seen everyone around me, for the most part, do. So I had to unlearn that rule. So when we recognize that we're playing by someone else's rules, I don't know about you, but when I realized that, I got real mad. I was like, oh no, I've worked way too hard to create this like work ethic and this way of looking at life to let myself be having any of these automatic thoughts that are based off of someone else's rule book. No way, don't like it. So nowadays, when those things happen to me and I'll be like, okay, well, it has to be like this, I'll be like, wait a minute, Jamie. Says fucking who? Says who? Which I do have stickers and a shirt that say that on my website, so we'll link them below in case you like that phrase as much as I do. But I have this sticker on my keyboard of my laptop, so I see it all the time. It says fucking who. So it's a reminder of like, it has to be like this and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I stop myself and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, says who? What if I did it a little bit like this and it felt better and it was less stressful and everybody got what they wanted? Like, what if I did that instead? Interesting, right? So this comes from being able to be present in a room. This comes from being able to have self-awareness. So these are all things we work on always. We don't stop working on those things. Checking ourselves and things that make us feel really anxious, as far as like pressure, I should say, like lots of pressure to do the said thing X, Y, Z way and by this time frame. You got to check on that because sometimes, sure, that is true and that is what we need to do. But a lot of times it's not. And you've put yourself in that spot for no reason and you can cut yourself some slack. So that's really what we want to look for. So there it is. We start questioning these assumptions. Like, wait a minute. Why do I have to do it that way? I tell people a lot, one of the only places that I will follow all of the rules without questioning a damn thing is the airport, because they have control over those airplanes and I don't. They have control over when I can check a bag, when I can get on an airplane, how much shit I can bring with me. They have control over all of those things that I have no control over. So I bow to the man on that all day long, right? And so in other cases, though, if we question in a healthy manner, question, what if I did it this way? And that doesn't mean we need to proclaim it to the world and like make a big stink out of it. That's defeating the purpose. The purpose of this exercise and the purpose of learning how to let go of rules that aren't yours is to create freedom for yourself, not to create more chaos for you to have to sort through, because that's not the point. The point isn't to tell all of the people whose rule books that you're following all about how the rules are wrong. That's not it. The point is, how do I write my own? How do I acknowledge and start questioning the things that maybe I didn't make the decision on? Maybe it wasn't me, right? Maybe I didn't decide that I didn't like that thing or that person or that music. Maybe someone else told me it was stupid. So maybe I'm going to go listen to it and see if I like it with a fresh perspective. That part gets to be fun, in my opinion. With me in my own business and life, with questioning these rule books, it definitely was a big thing about money. It definitely was a big thing about time. So meaning, and this is something I still, when I started at the production company, I felt this old thing come back, and it was, when I say this, guys, I don't know how to say it. I don't mean this in an arrogant fashion, okay? I have this gift of being able to get a lot of things done in a small amount of time, typically. Not always, but in a lot of cases. I can get a lot of things done in a small amount of time. My mind just works differently about tasks, and how I put them in order and make them happen is just a little different, I've learned, than everybody. And I don't necessarily think it's something I can fully teach people. I think it's just a gift. Like my cousin Casey has it too, so that's why we work really well together. Anyway, but when I started at the production company, I caught myself feeling like I needed to justify my time to the people there, instead of embracing the superpower that I embraced many years ago that helped me build this company while still being able to deal with being sick as fuck and no one even knew, traveling all the time, which made me more sick, but I was still able to produce and do this stuff without worrying about anybody else's like time clock, basically, of how I was doing it, because it didn't matter. It wasn't their problem to deal with. It was mine. Like, I dealt with it in my own way, and I allow myself to realize that I have this expertise and ability, and that's okay. So in this new business, I had I don't know, probably a couple months before I realized, oh my God, Jamie, you do not need to justify the fact that that thing took you half of the time it would take someone else. And then you also don't have to then do 15 more hours worth of work just so that you can say you did. Now granted, there was a lot to do and there still is. And I do that. But like for me, counting my hours in that kind of situation feels very petty to me. It just does. And I think that comes from the fact that I do know that I'm able to get a lot of things done faster than other people and stuff. So counting my hours to be like, well, I did that reconciliation in 20 minutes and it would took you 2 hours. Like, who cares? That is unnecessary. But it's the belief rule, right, that came back in of me needing to track my time and justify my time the way other people do, which is one of the freedoms and beautiful things about my company and what I've built for myself is that how I spend my time is no one else's business as long as I get my work done. If I accomplish the thing that I told you I would accomplish, it doesn't matter to you if it took me 10 minutes or 10 hours. And that is just a belief system that I think more people could become clear enough with themselves about things like that and really own it and not feel guilty about it, the better off a lot of us would be as far as stress and pressure and those kinds of things go. It always reminds me too of like that whole keeping up with the Joneses thing. Like, what? What if they hate each other, but you're trying to keep up with them? Like, you really want to build that for yourself? I highly doubt it. Anyway, it's just, again, questioning the assumptions of like, wait a minute, why do I need my thing to be that way? That's weird. And then that leads you into some self-growth and some own, self-reflection and things like that that can be beautiful and freeing all by itself. But those pivots in my own life, in my own personal life, my own business life have been monumental. My things in my personal life really, I would say, have done a lot with Tony, right? Because he grew up in Canada. He played hockey from a young age, traveled playing, like, I don't know what they even call it, club hockey or whatever. He lived with like different families while I was doing that. So his experience in life was night and day from mine. The thing that we had in common was that we had really loving parents. His mom and dad are still married, and my mom and dad are still married. So we have loving and semi-similar parents to an extent. But everything else, completely not the same. And so doing life with someone who has got to live an extraordinary life, one that a lot of people will never experience, being a pro athlete. That's something that the majority of us will never know what that's like. So getting to live with him and witness the way that he navigates the world has been its own educational experience, honestly. And a lot of it, I'd say there's a few things that I don't want to be my rules, but also some of the things, though, have been so healthy for me to learn that I didn't have to have or do a certain way, and that was okay. It also, we together, I'd say, discovered codependent relationships everywhere around us, and that we didn't have to have that. And we got to create it differently. So we unlearned the rules of relationships and marriage that everyone around us had, and we built our own. Like, I see people who text message each other all day long or talk on the phone all day long, and then they tell me that they don't have a connected relationship with their partner. And I'm like, how could you? You never have anything to talk about at the end of the day when you're actually sitting with each other because you talked all day long. Holy moly, I can't even imagine. I made a comment about that when we were wedding dress shopping, and my sister-in-law, which is one of the very few not codependent relationships that I know of, is my brother and sister-in-law. And she was like, oh my God, like, we would not be married if your brother was like that. I'm like, shh, that's what I'm saying. But my mom and dad were not like that. Me and Jesse were raised, Jesse's my brother, were raised in a household where my mom did everything that she could while my dad was at work, so that when my dad got home from work, we could all spend time as a family. So he worked nights. So she would bust her ass all week while he was busting his ass all week, but so that we could spend time as a family. But my dad, there wasn't an option to call my dad at work. He was working on an assembly line. And for a really long time, obviously there were no such thing as cell phones. So like, I don't even know, honestly, back then if we would have had an emergency, if we could have even reached him. I have no idea. But that wasn't an option. He wasn't calling home on his lunch break. Like, that wasn't an option. Also, his lunch break was like our bedtime, So we grew up where that was like very normal for our parents not to talk all day long while the other one was at work. Not a problem, right? But I look around and I realize like my mom and dad are very codependent on each other. 100. They were then too. I didn't realize it. Obviously, I was young. But as they've retired and stuff, like, it's definitely changed. But I don't know if that's what led Jesse and I to never seeing that, or just because we're very sturdy individuals. We were raised that way, to be very stable by ourselves, or what. But it is a thing where I'm like, oh my God, stop it. Like, don't. Like, I don't understand. I can't even find Tony's phone number on my phone when I'm trying to call him or text him if I do need to. I'm like, where is he? There's like 1,000 people down. And I think that's healthy. Personally, I think that's very healthy. But regardless, the whole idea is that was a big one for me in my personal life, was unlearning what relationships needed to look like, unlearning what I was supposed to want from a partner, unlearning what it was supposed to be like for me to be a wife, unlearning that I was supposed to be a mom because I would be good at it. There's a kicker. Holy shit, I don't know why I didn't think of that before. Oh, I spent, 25 years of my life thinking that I needed to be a mom because that's what I was supposed to do and I would be good at it. Well, that's not a reason to bring children into this world. That's a terrible plan. That's a whole nother story, but that's one that definitely was a big unlearning, because I got to make that decision for myself, and I removed myself from my relationship. I spent time alone. I did all these things to make that choice for myself. And I'm so glad that I did, because I remember the day that it hit me that I was like, oh my God, it was never my plan. It was everyone else's plan for me that this is what I was supposed to do. Big moment. Those are some examples. So I hope that some of those examples triggered something for you, a memory, a thought, a description, maybe your own rule that you're like, oh my God, that's not my rule. I need to rewrite how I handle X situation. So that's my goal when I share those kinds of things with you, is that hopefully it like spurs some sort of thought for you, or you have like a little light bulb moment for yourself. So my action for you today following this episode would be identify one inherited belief that no longer fits, or one rule that you've lived by that you didn't make. So when you identify these things, you can decide, do I want to continue? Does that fit me and I want to continue with that? Or do I want to strip it away and rewrite my story and make my own rule book? And either one of those answers are completely okay. It's whatever feels the best to you. So I would love to hear what comes out of this conversation for you. So as always, feel free to comment below or send me an email and tell me what's up or ask questions, because I love having these conversations with you. And make sure that as the series continues, make sure that you hit that notification button and that you're subscribed to our channel on YouTube and on all the audio platforms, whichever one you choose to listen on, so that you don't miss the next episode. As always, if you liked this message, please give it a thumbs up. Share this over with someone that you think can benefit from it. And if you have not already left us a review somewhere that you like to listen, that would be amazing. And I would be very grateful if you would do that. Until next time, go out into the world, do good, live by your own rules, and I will see you later. Thank you for listening to Operation B, the podcast. To support this message and to support the show, please make sure that you like, follow, and share wherever you enjoy listening. And be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. That's the way to support this message. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.